I'm going to share with you one really simple, easy way to change the way that you think about yourself and food, the way you view food. Hi, Carrie Nygaard here with your thought here on YouTube about your brain and food and how you relate to it as it relates to brain science. So, when it comes to how you think about yourself and the way you relate to food, one simple way to reframe all of that is to consider what you typically put behind these two words. And it's I am. Now, this sounds really like maybe cliche or even fundamental, or maybe even elementary. But when you go around and say things like, I'm a food addict, or I'm a sugaraholic, or I can't control myself, I am this, I am out of control, I am. Here's the thing. In our brains, there is our conscious thinking self. It's the part that I'm using right now as I talk to you. It's also the part that you're using right now as you listen to what I say and digest and kind of contemplate on what I say and analyze and bring it in. That's our conscious thinking self. That's done in the prefrontal cortex, a part of our brain. However, within every single human, right, who has a body right here in the realm of time, there is also this primal part of our brain that is survival obsessed. It's kind of the subconscious part of our brain. Over 90% of our thinking has been automated, has been put down here to the subconscious part of our brain. Our subconscious brain does not have the ability to reason. The way that we just intuitively, innately, overall in general, think about ourselves is what we have programmed it. Just like you would get into a computer and program it to act a certain way, you would implement a program to run in the background or even in the foreground. The same thing happens in your brain. Whatever your conscious thinking self says or thinks about yourself in relation to food or your body is what the lower brain is going to focus in on. Your lower brain is like this massive database. And so anything you tell it about yourself, you are programming yourself to bring that into existence. So, for example, if you've had experiences in the past where you've eaten more than you wanted, or you've eaten to the point where you felt uncomfortable, your brain has attached a meaning to that. And whatever meaning is attached to it is whatever you've told it. So if you have a habit of grazing all day or binge eating, whether that's at nights or on the weekends or ever so often, what you tell yourself after that is what you are, is the meaning that you're attaching to that experience. And it's also what you're defining yourself as. So when you say things like, I'm out of control with food, or I'm an alcoholic, or I'm a sugaraholic, you have defined yourself by those actions. You've attached that meaning to those actions. And now your lower brain is going to subconsciously go about collecting evidence to continue to believe whatever you've told it. So let's use the example of I am out of control with chocolate. Okay. If you're someone who thinks I am out of control with chocolate, and you keep saying that and you keep thinking that and you keep telling yourself that, your lower brain believes it. Your lower brain is not discriminant. It doesn't tell you, nope, that's not true, because it only believes what you consciously tell it. So you need to be mindful about what you tell your brain. The way you experience the world right now, the way you experience your relationship with food is a culmination of all the things that you've told yourself about yourself in relation to food. And that has become your experience. So if you are someone who's maybe been in Overeaters Anonymous, or you've identified yourself as a sugaraholic, instead of thinking, I am, like the example I said, out of control with chocolate, start instead saying, I am someone who likes chocolate. Like, let's just kind of like bring it down a few notches. Now let's also think of like the best case scenario. Like, here I am now, where I consciously think that I am out of control with chocolate. What would be the ideal? Where would you want to think? And let's kind of go to like, unicorns and rainbows, like best case scenario that maybe doesn't even feel believable to you right now. When you go to that place, what is your reality? It's, I'm completely in control with chocolate, or I can take it or leave it, or chocolate, meh. Okay. Whatever you want to create, that's what you want to start to think. Now, if that place feels unattainable, then you want to pick some like in between, some like baby step thoughts in between. And so you want to start thinking, instead of thinking, I'm out of control with chocolate, start to think, I am completely in control with chocolate, or I'm becoming someone who's in control with chocolate. Get it to a place where it's believable. When we are conscious of our thoughts, that's also when we become the creator of our results and of our future. So if you want to have a different experience with food, you need to start thinking about, how do I tell myself? What do I tell myself after the I am in regards to food? And there is a lot of power placed upon that. I journal every morning. I might miss a day here or there, but I am consistent. I journal, but I journal a little different. I don't record what's happened in my life. That's for a different type of journaling. What I do is I write about what I want to create, and I write about it as if I already created it. One thing I wrote in my journal this morning was, I am fully present. I am free to create what I desire. And when I write those things, I feel the emotion that's in it. And I believe it. And I practice that emotion, because this is what happens. Our thoughts create emotions, and our emotions are the fuel for our actions, and our actions create whatever result we want in our life. So if you want to be genuinely in control of food, or if you want to stop binging, or if you want to feel different about chocolate or popcorn or whatever it is, what are you putting behind this? What have you told your brain about this? When you can start to change your thinking about it, it becomes so much easier to change the habit. Okay, so give that a try. What are you telling yourself? What are you allowing your brain? What are you telling yourself about yourself? Is that really what you want to be telling your brain? Because guess what? That is what your brain will bring to you. When you are out in the world, millions of pieces of information are coming into your senses at any moment, but you're not aware of all those millions of pieces. Your subconscious brain filters only the things that are important to you. And how does it know what's important to you? By what you tell it. So if you're consistently telling your brain that I am a sugaraholic, then your brain is going to bring to your attention all the possible bits of information or pieces of information in your behavior, anything among all the millions of pieces of information throughout the day that are going to reaffirm that you are a sugaraholic. But if you start to change the filter a little bit of, and here's a really strong thing, if you really believe it and it's hard to believe something different, put a qualifier on it. Instead of thinking, I am a sugaraholic, say, I am a sugaraholic, maybe, maybe not. When you put just a qualifier on it, it puts a question mark over that whole phrase. And now your brain's like starting to think, maybe that's not a fact. Maybe this is optional. Maybe there's other bits of information here that might support me not thinking I'm a sugaraholic. And then your brain starts finding those, because your brain is a problem-solving machine. My business is called Brain Management 101. I teach people how to get in front of their brains and manage their brains so their brains aren't managing them. And one of the things that I teach people out of 8 simple brain basics is one of them is that your brain is a problem-solving machine. And so when you do add a qualifier to it, such as maybe, but maybe not, your brain, you have left a question mark, and your brain is going to be busy trying to solve that. Maybe I'm not a sugaraholic, or maybe some ways I am and some ways I'm not. Just start to kind of add this uncertainty about it, so your brain starts to see it as not a fact. And then pretty soon you can get rid of the maybe, maybe not, and start to think, maybe I used to be a sugaraholic and I'm not, or maybe I never have been. I've coached women in my program. I'm thinking of one particular client who was in Overeaters Anonymous for over a decade, I think 12 years or something like that. And she consciously thought over and over, I am a food addict. I am a food addict. That is the meaning that she applied to herself. That is what she programmed her brain to believe about her. So that became her experience. She experienced food as an overeater, as someone addicted to food. And as we began to do this thought and emotion work, she began to realize, I'm not addicted to food. I am just me. So the question is, who gets to define you? How do you define yourself? Do not define yourself by some past behaviors you've had with food. You get to decide the meaning that you attach to food and your experience with food. And by doing it mindfully and on purpose, bit by bit, even if you have to take baby step thoughts, there is an amazing journey that I encourage you to take. Next week, I'm going to be teaching my free In Control with Food workshop. I'm going to, in the description, of this video, I'm going to put the link for you to be able to join me free. It's in a Facebook group, and you can watch a 3-day, it's an hour each day, so a total of 3 hours workshop where I talk about how to be genuinely and consistently in control with food from a brain science perspective. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.